On Saturday, the Miami Dolphins beat the Raiders 26-25. Kind of a weird game all around. Miami pulled their quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. They were down 3 points with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, like really 9:47 left. And they put their backup quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who used to be their starting quarterback in the game. And Ryan Fitzpatrick led them to a win. So weird, like, already the game's weird because you took your starting quarterback out, you put in your backup, and they both, I think Tua and Ryan both had a touchdown pass. They both played somewhat okay, but there were moments where Ryan Fitzpatrick made throws downfield that I go, I just don't think Tua is able to make that throw yet. He had a great throw against cover two, right down the middle between two safeties. I went, that's a veteran quarterback understanding NFL defenses a little bit better than Tua. And so apparently Tua's their starting quarterback continuing on. They play Buffalo next week in a huge game. Pretty much Buffalo's 12-3, Miami's 10-5. Miami has to win a game at Buffalo. And I don't know that Tua's the right guy to help you win that game. Quite frankly, Ryan Fitzpatrick might be the right guy to start in that situation if you want to make it into the playoffs, but I'm very torn there. And also, I walked away going, I want to see Ryan Fitzpatrick in a broadcasting booth at some point. I think when I watch Tua play, I can only imagine what Ryan Fitzpatrick is thinking in his head going like, oh, you should do X or Y or Z or do this or that. And I'm sure they're having conversations in the headset. For that reason, it made me think I would love to see Ryan Fitzpatrick broadcast football when his career is over. But Fitz had this crazy throw with 19 seconds left to set up the game-winning field goal for Miami. We'll talk about that again in a minute. But we first need to talk about the Raiders. The Raiders lost to Miami. Las Vegas, the Raiders are now 7-8. They missed the playoffs again this year. And the blame has got to go on Jon Gruden, their head coach. I like Jon Gruden. I think there have been moments where he's done a good job preparing his team to play. I thought that the highlight of the year for the Las Vegas Raiders was beating the Kansas City Chiefs. They looked very well prepared. They had a great game plan. But again, this loss to Miami has got to go on the coach. And the recent failures by the Raiders has to go on Jon Gruden. But I want to be clear, if you're going to blame Jon Gruden for the loss, make sure you do it for the right reason. So all the attention after this game has gone on to Jon Gruden's late game decision-making against Miami, where the Raiders had the ball first and goal on the 8-yard line with 1 minute and 55 seconds left. And the Raiders chose to not score a touchdown. They had their running back, Josh Jacobs, literally take a knee on the 1-yard line. He slid down to avoid scoring. They did not want a touchdown. It would have given them a 6-point lead because they were down 24-25, so they didn't want to have a 6-point lead. They wanted to take as much time off the clock as possible. Then on 3rd and goal, Derek Carr literally kneeled to continue to run the clock down, and they kicked a field goal, giving them a 25-23 lead with 19 seconds left in the game. And people are critical of this strategy, like, you should have done other stuff. You should have taken the touchdown. You should have done whatever. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, say whatever you want to say. I don't think this is the reason to criticize Jon Gruden. Every once in a while, you have a strategy that is a good strategy that simply doesn't work. I play a tabletop game, like a board game called Settlers of Catan. I'm a giant nerd, and my family, we all played it during Christmas. And I had a great strategy of putting my game pieces on the number 8, meaning that if you have 2 dices, you have a high percentage chance of rolling an 8. Like you would think, it's literally 6 and 8 are two of the highest. 6, 8, and 7 are like the highest possible things you could roll when you're rolling 2 dice. And 8s just never got rolled. Like I waited and waited. My whole strategy revolved around rolling an 8 with these 2 dice, and it didn't happen. And I don't know the probability or whatever. I just know that on paper, that's a good strategy. Like 8 gets rolled all the time. And in this game, it was an anomaly. It didn't happen. And that happens sometimes. Every once in a while, you have a good strategy that for one reason or another, there's an anomaly and it doesn't work out. And in this game, what happened was Ryan Fitzpatrick made a crazy throw with 19 seconds left on the left sideline, hit as he threw. It also drew a penalty, so it made it a 49-yard gain. So that set up a game-winning field goal with seconds left to give Miami the lead and the win. And so if you want to criticize the Raiders and their head coach, Jon Gruden, go ahead. But I don't think the late-game strategy is the reason why you should criticize Jon Gruden because I thought that the strategy to run up the clock and kick the field goal, like, it's a good strategy. Normally that would work. Here are the 2 reasons why you should criticize Jon Gruden for losing this game. Number 1, 19 seconds left in the game. You have a busted coverage down the left sideline. That cannot happen. You cannot have a wide receiver wide open the way that the Miami receiver was on the final play of the game. Like, you just cannot have a busted coverage in that moment. And the Raiders defense has had problem after problem after problem. They fired their defensive coordinator. They're a mess on defense. And you can blame the defensive coordinator all you want, but at some point the buck stops with the head coach, and you just cannot have the mistakes that keep being made on defense by the Raiders, and that's got to go on Jon Gruden. Like, criticize him for that. And then criticize Jon Gruden for the fact that his team went 0 for 10 on 3rd down. That's awful. How do you expect to win a game when you do not have a single 3rd down conversion the entire game? You have sacks, you have incomplete passes, you have all kinds of reasons why they didn't make it happen on 3rd down, but they went 0 for 10 on 3rd down in this game. It's unacceptable, and you can't expect to win. Like, they were 1 for 4 in the red zone, meaning they had 1 touchdown in the 4 times they were in the red zone in this game. They had to keep settling for field goals, and if you're going to criticize Jon Gruden, a guy who's supposed to be this offensive guru and offensive mind, criticize him for the fact that his team was awful on 3rd down, and then the fact that his team busted a coverage down the left sideline at the very end of a game in a key situation. But don't blame him and be mad at him for the strategy, which was a good strategy that simply did not work. Now, a lot of people are saying the Raiders should fire their head coach, Jon Gruden. I think anybody who says that is either not really a Raiders fan, because then you don't know your team, and clearly is not aware of the situation in Las Vegas where Jon Gruden is 3 years into a 10-year contract. He's going nowhere. They gave him a 10-year, $100 million contract. Jon Gruden's not going anywhere. Stop. Anybody who's saying that they should fire Jon Gruden clearly does not understand the situation in Las Vegas. And so, I don't know, if any of your friends are saying, yeah, Jon Gruden isn't working, fire the guy, they can't. They're on the hook for a lot of money, and they're going to have to stay patient with Jon Gruden. And by the way, he's had some blunders. There have been some moments this year where the Raiders have done stuff that I cannot support and I think are terrible. But all in all, like, the Raiders are headed in a good direction. They got good young players. They're building their roster. They've drafted well. So, I don't know. I think people are very quick to hate on Jon Gruden, and I don't blame him. Like, he's made some mistakes and done some dumb stuff, some frustrating stuff this year. But you look at, okay, they've been dealing with COVID. They got all kinds of problems everywhere, and I have patience for Jon Gruden where I think a lot of other people don't. Now, I'm biased. I like him. I don't pretend to not be biased. I'm incredibly biased to Jon Gruden. I love the guy. I really like him as a personality. He's got flaws at the coaching position. He appears to be an average coach, but he has won a Super Bowl. He can rest his laurels on that, and he's not going anywhere. So if you're a Raiders fan, all you can do is continue to give Jon Gruden patience and wait to see what happens in Vegas, because Jon Gruden's not going anywhere. But what you can do, if you're going to criticize Jon Gruden, criticize him for the right reasons. Criticize him for their awful defense. They got to figure that out. They cannot continue to blow coverages, especially not with 19 seconds left on the left sideline in a game like they did against Miami. And then be heavily critical of the design and the play calling on 3rd down, because my goodness, you can't be 0 for 10 on 3rd down in any game and expect to win. That's just terrible. That's awful. Where is Henry Ruggs? There have been moments where I'm like, you drafted Henry Ruggs in the 1st round, and he's just not been the constant playmaker I hoped he would be. And so there are a lot of reasons to be frustrated with the Raiders, but I just don't think that the criticism of the strategy late in the game to run down the clock and kick the field goal, I thought that was a sound strategy. It just didn't work.